Welcome to another edition of A Voice to the Gentile Church. I'm Jim Wingerter. Across from me is Pastor Roger Diaz. We are welcoming tonight Ms. Natalie Sopinsky of Rescuers Without Borders in Israel. And Natalie, we've been hearing a lot in the news, and we're elated to have you here to hear from you what life has been like from an Israeli perspective.
Elated.
We are.
You're elated, huh?
We are.
Okay, well, I'm glad to be here. That's not really true. I'm not glad to be here. I did not want to come at all. It's been hard. I have two boys in the army and did not want to leave. I'm just like another, Israeli parent, but it was not good to come. But my director told me this is going to go on for a long time. So go and tell them what's going on.
Right.
So would you be able to discuss what it is that you're doing exactly? And you said that you didn't want to be here. We get that. But what are you doing exactly?
You mean what am I doing here?
Yeah. What is the objective?
Okay, so I'll tell you. I speak to my mother and my sisters on the phone every week about what's going on in Israel from my standpoint. Okay, and everything I tell them, I hear the same reaction, and it's what? We don't get that here at all. We don't hear any of that on our news. And the news that is coming across the mainstream media in America is just not the truth. It's not what's going on. It only took how long? 8 days for the world to lose, to not favor the Jews anymore and turn it upside down. It's bad. It's war. And what happened on October 7th, there were so many things that went wrong. And since then, it's one step after the other, one bad day after the next, every day, just names. I'll give you an example of something that I'm sure you don't learn. My boy went into Gaza, and we got to see him for 4 hours in a hilltop before they went in. This is around October 26th or 27th. He's in Tzanchanim 101, that's the paratrooper unit, they're fighters. And the first thing he said was, look, Mommy, look, new uniforms. And I said, oh, new uniforms, why? Why do you think they got new uniforms? Hamas stole their uniforms.
Oh.
Hamas stole all the IDF uniforms, and they were dressing up like them. And on October 7th, they pretended. They impersonated the IDF.
No.
And ever since,
we never got that story here.
Of course, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, there's reasons, I'm sure, that the news like that doesn't get out.
Right.
It's just going to embolden them.
Yeah.
In Gaza, he told me they dress up like soldiers to, lure our boys closer so they can be killed. And they carry white flags pretending to be neutral, pretending to be giving up, surrendering, and they're not. They have guns on them. And they even amplify the voices of the kidnapped people, so our soldiers will go looking closely to that area so they can ambush them. These are stories I'm sure you're not getting.
Right.
But that's what I'm here to tell you. I'm here to tell you that it's really bad, and we have a very ruthless enemy that plays dirty. And my real goal, however, is to introduce our organization, which is Rescuers Without Borders. We're the rescue medics of Judea and Samaria, Yehuda and Shomron, the Bible Belt, okay, biblical heartland of Israel. And we fight terror all the time. We are the medics you call when you're in trouble, whether it's a heart attack, having a baby, or breaking your leg, or terror. Now, there's a lot of terror that goes on every day. If you look at the statistics between January and June last year, 3,250 instances of terror. And the terror is weird, knifings, Molotov cocktails, car rammings and stabbings. Shootings now, very popular shootings, but there are even more. They shine a laser in your eye when you're driving so that you crash. And they do this thing where they'll line the road with rocks, creating a barrier so you are forced to stop. And then they ambush you. Oh, they're very creative. And
so again, how many attacks in those months that you mentioned? 3,
that was something like 3,650, 3,250. Is 3,000 plus, and that was 6 months. That was last year.
And so the world only knows about 10/7. They don't know about what came before it.
The world chooses to what they decide to listen to, and look, everybody has access to the same information you and I do. It's what they're interested in. Everyone's in their own little bubble, in their own little echo chamber. And some people still call Yehuda and Shomron the West Bank. There are people who ask me if that's real Israel, greater Israel. It's they don't know, but it's not their fault. It's not their fault. I didn't know either. I got there by accident. I fell asleep in the car, ended up in Susia. People stick to the things they know. There are tourists who come to Israel. I've met people who've been to Israel 300 times. They have not been over the Green Line.
Unthinkable. They missed the heartland of the...
They're missing the best part of Israel.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. So I do have 3 questions for you. We'll see. Maybe there'll be added questions. It all depends. How has Susia been directly affected? What are some of the dynamics that you guys are now experiencing because of 10/7?
Well, I'll tell you, the day after, all our men were gone, and the men that were left were protecting us. So we're no different than any other yishuv. The 150 communities in Judea and Samaria have internal security. It's called a kitat konanut, and it's first responders in the yishuv.
Yeah.
And our team used to be something like 8 men, and they didn't do much. They did a drill now and then. They dressed up. They felt cool, They were like 40. And now the team's like 40, 50 men strong, all ages, young, in their 20s, and they are serious, and they are doing shifts around the clock and many different points around the yishuv. And with weapons and night vision, and we always need more stuff. I know they need more equipment. But they're serious now, and so that's a change. People who have regular jobs, these are engineers, builders, computer people. These are real men with real jobs, and I'm passing them at 5 a.m. when I'm taking my dog out for a walk. They're coming home. So that's happening, and that's happening in every yishuv, I think. I don't know if it's happening as intensely as it is in Susia. We are surrounded by Arabs pretty much, and we do not have a fence, so we need to be out there. And this is good. This has put everyone on their toes and opened up everybody's eyes. That's one thing. Another thing that has changed is no more Arab workers.
Yeah.
Right, and there were quite a few.
Oh, there are a ton. They're building all the houses.
Right.
Yeah, so that's great.
How has Susia grown since you've been here about 5 years ago?
Interesting. I don't know how many were there the last time I was here. When I moved there in 2006, 2007, there were about 70 families, and now there are 200.
Oh.
So it has grown. There have been 4 new neighborhoods built since I've been there. Now, a neighborhood in Susia is not, the villages. It's not
a subdivision.
It's not a subdivision.
Right.
It's 8 houses. 8 houses is a neighborhood. But remember, the families, and you probably know this, I have 5 children, and my family is small.
Right.
So when we live, 8 families, there's a lot of people.
Susia is relatively close to Gaza.
No, we're an hour.
Oh, it's a hearty drive.
It's a drive. Yeah, it's not a big
So
deal.
you're just south of Hebron, right?
We're south of Hebron.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Look, there are a lot of Arabs in Israel, not just Gaza. They're
Oh,
all over.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all over.
Tell us about the archaeological site that's there in Susia. Never been there. That's shameful, and I've already committed myself 3 times to get there, but
funny.
we always seem to be caught up in Hebron or going to the Negev or something. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that archaeological site there.
It's kind of, it's a tourist destination. Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. It's restored. It was a city, a biblical city that really is not mentioned anywhere. It's not mentioned in the Tanakh. They've found over 30 mikvaot there, and they believe priests were living there. That was a city of priests that left Yerushalayim when the beginning of the Bar Kokhba revolt, and they saw something was going to go bad in Jerusalem, and they got out and built their own holy city there, and it faces Yerushalayim. The synagogue faces Yerushalayim, and that synagogue and that ark and that whole area, the holy area, has been taken and put in the Jewish Museum. It's on the bottom floor of the Jewish Museum. Wow. It's marble. It's beautiful. And it's because the entrance is facing the Yerushalayim. So that's how you can tell something was older if it was facing Yerushalayim. That's what I learned.
Yeah.
Wow. I cannot believe you haven't been there. I can't believe it.
I'm ashamed.
Okay, wow.
So tell me about that synagogue. It isn't pointed towards the entrance is facing Jerusalem.
It's something like that. I'm not. I'm
Yeah,
really
that's-
not the right
that's-
person to
that's
ask.
unusual.
But if you go into a synagogue in America, it's something facing Jerusalem, and because Jerusalem is to our north, I believe it faces north. I'm getting that. It's something like that. Now,
So,
please don't
yeah.
quote me because I'm not the archaeological expert here.
Right.
Or a rabbi.
And that brings us to our next official question. 10-7. How has that affected, both negative or positive, your organization, Rescuers Without Borders? That's what you do, and how has that affected your organization?
Well, I'll tell you a few things. At that day, the day of Shabbat, which was Simchat Torah, the 7th of October.
Yes, right.
We sent 60 rescuers down to the border, and they were permanently stationed there for, I think, a month.
Wow.
And we helped Zaka, we helped Magen David Adom, we helped locate bodies and body parts. That took a long time, and I believe it's still in process. And we also helped the people who were not evacuated. A lot of people were evacuated from those 22 communities, and they were put in different hotels in Eilat, the Dead Sea, Yerushalayim, and Tel Aviv. Some people did not leave. Some people are disabled or older. They have Thai assistants. Those assistants left. Some of those assistants were kidnapped. Some of those assistants were killed. Some of those Thai workers were at the Nova Festival. So our workers were down there. We have a connection to the Gaza border communities. We actually have 14 shelters in Sderot, throughout Sderot, that city. And we fund a large children's shelter in Nahal Oz. Nahal Oz has been one of those kibbutzim, unfortunately, a lot of rockets. And all those communities really suffered rockets. And a lot of the children there suffer from PTSD for a couple of years.
No doubt.
Sure.
No doubt.
Sure. So the tunnels were found underneath, the balloons were throwing. So we built a special shelter for them because sometimes those kids have to be in the shelter for 8 hours. And we had a special oxygen tank there, and we actually helped teach them first aid there. And that's one reason we know that area. Another reason we know that area is because, for the same reasons, the PTSD, we created a horse therapy farm on Kibbutz Urim. So we know the area, and we know the Moatzah, the municipality, and we were able to go on October 7th and stay there because those people who were left didn't have any more services because everything closed. Everything closed for us too. There was no school, there was no work, the stores were closed, nothing. And down there, people who couldn't leave had nothing. They couldn't get medicine, they couldn't get food, there was nowhere to buy bread. So our rescuers actually kind of went down there and helped them, also helping the people who were injured and helping the people who were left. So that's one thing that we did that is not something we normally do. Another thing that affected us is we have to keep up our regular work in Yehuda and Shomron. And we all know, and I think this may have been overlooked here in America, but the terrorists have said loud and clear on our side of the water that October 7th was rehearsal, that they are planning something very big for Yehuda and Shomron. Now we need to be ready. We need to have equipment. We need to be ready to patch up people who got injured. And we need to, even planning, they're using our library as a potential hospital. Clinics, we don't have any hospitals in Judea and Samaria. So every community does have medics, and we have 1,600 of them spread throughout Judea and Samaria, the 150 communities. And they need equipment. We need equipment all the time. We need, just things become expired. Insulin becomes expired. And
Right.
I'll tell you something we don't have. We don't have armored vehicles. And when there are shootouts, you need to get people out. And you can't get them out with a regular car or a regular ambulance. You can't. They'll shoot right through it. So that's something we really need. And actually, we feel that need now more than ever. So if you're saying, how did we get affected? We need more stuff faster.
So these terrorists are saying that there's a big plan in place for something in the future, and that what happened there in Sderot and in the Negev was just a rehearsal. Is that right?
Yeah.
I want our listeners to hear that. Well, now the main communities in the so-called West Bank, of course, Ramallah, Jenin, Nablus, and Hebron. Right. That's the real four centers of terror. Right.
Yeah.
So the idea is that perhaps that they're coordinating something in those four communities, four districts, towns. I'm not even sure what I want to call them, but
they're cities.
Yeah, and
cities.
from those cities, maybe they're planning just to ooze out and
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well put. Ooze out. Yeah.
Like a germ.
Yep.
Wow.
They had to have
that's
promised them
amazing.
something because they were itching to do evil right after the attack occurred.
They are foaming. They are foaming.
They're
at the
foaming
mouth.
at the mouth. And so the only thing that would stop them is a promise that something bigger can be coordinated later.
See, that's something that Americans, Christians, the world needs to know, that in the so-called occupied territory, and it's not, it's actually biblical Israel, there are 500,000, at least 500,000 Israelis, Jewish Israelis that live there, and there are these 4 hotspots of terror, murderous terror, that's just sitting there waiting to erupt.
Yeah. You say 4, but for all you know, there's more.
Probably more, but
Yeah.
there are 4 main spots. Yeah. All right, amazing. That's amazing. All right, so I want to ask you one question here. There might be 2 other questions. In your opinion, what would be the optimum outcome? How would you like to see this whole thing develop?
When you say whole thing, you mean Arab terror?
What has happened there, and the potential of something like what we just talked about happening? What would be the best case scenario, in your opinion? I know that's a broad question, but
Well, if you're asking me how we can make this go away, or how we can make it a peaceful coexistence, my
do you think
opinion-
there can be a peaceful coexistence?
Yeah, I think there's something called a peace, an unhappy peace. It's kind of like a cold peace, and it's based on fear. And we need more Jews. We need more strong Jews, and we need the Arabs to be afraid.
Yeah.
And they were back in 1967.
Americans sit around and sing, "Why can't we be friends?" And they miss completely the reality that the only thing Islam understands is the resounding defeat of Allah.
So that's a very controversial statement you just made, that we need the Arabs to be afraid.
Yes.
And a statement like that will receive a lot of pushback and so on. But it's true, and to define what you just said a little more, to elaborate on that a little more, like you said, after the 6-Day War, maybe even after the War of Independence in Israel, the Arabs were hesitant about lashing out at the Jewish population, and that was good because Israel showed force, right?
Right.
And I think if this continues, if this campaign against Hamas does continue in the way it's going, you'll get right back to that, because Hamas currently is being crushed.
Right.
So the hope is that following this campaign against Hamas, there would be enough fear driven into the resistance of Israel that they would be subdued. Now, is there a distinction between Hamas and the population of Gaza in your mind? And how do you distinguish between both?
Well, they're the leaders, and then there are the unwilling followers.
The subjects.
And, it stinks to be them.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's not me. But it's not me. And I can't put them before me. I can't put their children before mine. I won't.
There's no question people are suffering in Gaza. There's no question about that. But I don't look to Israel as the source of that hardship. I see, of course, their own decisions about submitting themselves to Hamas. They've done that now for 20 years. They've been in submission to Hamas, and that's where they are because of that surrender to Hamas. So there are people who are in terrible bondage. People in bondage needs to cry out for change. Destroying Israel is not the solution.
Right.
Getting rid of their leadership, so-called leadership, is the solution.
Right.
So do you think there will ever be an uprising in Gaza?
I'm not an Arab.
Yeah.
And I'm not a Palestinian, and I'm not one of them. And I find it, I find it probably improbable that would happen. Mm-hmm. But I'm one person. I don't know. I don't sit at their kitchen table. It's very funny when people opine about the Arab culture and the Arab society. We see the outside. We see the results.
Yeah.
What I can say is it is a very different culture than the West. It is a culture of honor and shame.
Yeah.
When a teenager there kills a Jew, their school, the classroom, their desk and their chair is a shrine.
Sure. Well, we're dealing with a people that has been made to be your enemies. They exist in that space there that we call Gaza for that purpose, to be an impediment to Israel. So the solution is no more Gaza, from my point of view. And I'm a Westerner. I'm not sitting in Susia or in Hebron, Kiryat Arba, where my life is on the line. I'm sitting here in Florida and I'm making that statement. But I think the only solution is that there's no more Gaza.
When you mean no more Gaza, you mean...
Well, no more distinct community of so-called Palestinians.
Oh, so you want a beach house?
Well,
I'm getting a beach house.
we
You can
went-
all chip in.
We went to Texas and demonstrated against the disengagement.
I guess what I'm saying is, in the north, in the Galilee and so on, you have Arab communities that coexist with, not across the street from Jewish communities, and they seem to be getting along just fine. Why can't that happen in the south?
In
Gaza?
Gaza? Because they're ruled by Arab terrorists.
Right. So that's
They're
the
ruled by
point.
terrorists.
Maybe
these are not people who want to be part of Israeli society.
Exactly. So the problem is their leadership. So if there was some sort of a Mossadic effort to move the people towards rejection of their leaders, and hypothetically, the people of Gaza said, we want to be like the communities in the north. We don't want you as leaders anymore. And this is the optimum time for it, because their leadership is being crushed. So
Who's going to take over?
well, same as in the north.
I don't think that they should have that place at all.
No. All right. Well,
I mean, they've done a lot of damage. I don't
Yeah,
think
absolutely.
I don't. That's like
Absolutely.
rewarding a bad child.
Right.
Absolutely. So
You can't say they're children. You can't say they didn't know.
yeah. Well, I want to give some the benefit of the doubt that they're not all horribly evil and demonic.
Then they can go to Egypt.
Yeah.
There are
Where
22
they
Arab
came
countries.
from. Where they came
22 Arab countries. Take them.
from. All right.
We did notice that the Egyptians didn't swing the door open for them.
Yeah. So
Not fair. It's
the
not
solution,
fair that our land is so small. We have to share
Yeah.
it with people who hate us and want to kill us.
want to kill you.
They're
So
not
this-
going to become peaceful.
Right. The solution is, it's Israel. The land belongs to Israel, and it should be occupied by people who are peaceful towards Israel, and who wants to get along with, and the people of Israel themselves. I agree. So let's give you an opportunity to plug your organization, to
Yes.
just talk about what your needs are.
Okay. Well, let me just shout out our website, because that is the place
Yes.
you can donate. It's www.hatzalah, HATZALAH.org.il. That IL means Israel.
Right.
There are Hatzalahs all over the place. There's a Hatzalah Chicago. There's probably a Hatzalah Miami. There's a Hatzalah Beit Shemesh. Hatzalah means rescue.
I found that out when I went looking for your website.
Right.
So, and the thing that would help their organization the most is not just a donation, but a reoccurring donation on a monthly basis. Please consider.
Yeah, we are the only ones helping out there in Judea and Samaria. And the reason we were formed was because nobody else would come. And it's a very fast-growing part of Israel. 500,000 Jews is not nothing. My yeshuv had 70 families. Now we have 200, 1,500 people. My family is small. We have 13 medics today. For many years, we only had 3. I remember a time a boy had when you lose control of your body, epileptic seizure.
Seizures, yeah.
Yeah, and he didn't get help fast enough, and they had to move. Actually, he got permanent damage, and they had to move to a city closer to the hospital. Our medics are saving lives every day. They run with their legs, and they get there because they're fast, and they're living there. And it's kind of nice. You have medics in your own community. My mother came to visit us. Our dog scratched her face. A medic came to the house within minutes.
Wow.
We need people around. We don't have a real ambulance service. We are the ambulance service, and that's pretty funny. In America, it's not like that.
Right.
No.
Our medics can treat, and they do treat, and then there are medics who actually become ambulance drivers. It's a whole other
I
course.
thought you guys were subsidizing and working together with first responders.
No.
So you are the
are.
first responders.
We are the first
Oh, wow.
responders,
How many people do you have?
We have
personnel?
1,600 first response medics.
Wow.
Some of them are paramedics. That's even a much higher level. We need vehicles. We need ambulances. We need cars, the terrain. You've been there. You know Yehuda and Shomron. It's rocky. It's hilly.
Yeah. Takes a toll on vehicles.
Things are spread out. Takes a toll on vehicles. We get the vehicles 12 years after they've been used by a major city. Can you believe that? We are getting the leftovers. Best part of Israel. We're getting the leftovers. So if you want to donate a vehicle, donate to us because it'll go wherever you want. We're small. We control where it goes. Now, if you give to a big organization, and there are a lot of other great organizations out there, okay, but Magen David Adom, the National Emergency Rescue Service, if you give a donation to them and we want an ambulance, it's going to go and wherever they want. Yeah, they're big. If you want it in Judea and Samaria, give it to us because it will go in Judea and Samaria. Again, www.hatzalah.org.il. And you can even find me, Natalie Sopinsky, at nataliesopinski.com. I actually have a website. But we are, it's pretty funny, we have a very low profile, but we punch way above our weight.
Yeah.
So some years ago, John Hagee, when he was first formulating the Kufi movement, gathered together resources and funds and bought an ambulance for Magen David.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
And I was angry because I donated to the cause, and that ambulance would never cross the green line. They would not service those communities.
Right.
And to me, that was the greatest need. And he's playing the political field by doing that.
Yeah.
And I felt that it was very wrong. So this is an opportunity and a means to support biblical people living in the biblical land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well put.
It's amazing.
It really is an amazing part of Israel. It's, there's so much to see, and it's so natural. And despite the terror, it's really very safe. You don't need to lock anything. We don't need to lock our homes. We don't need to lock our cars. The kids don't have bike locks. They've never seen a bike lock. You know your neighbors. You know who's in your community, and the kids are free to roam. They go without adults. You don't have to watch your own children. It's a lot like a summer camp.
That's amazing. As you said that, it occurred to me or reoccurred to me that whenever we go to Kedumim and someone becomes ill or someone gets hurt or something, there's no emergency service. We have to ride them out to the nearest hospital. I just remember that. So yeah, you tend to take for granted that, it's like it is here in Orlando. Someone gets hurt. Here comes 911, but you guys are 911.
Yeah. We're actually, you call 101. 101 is Magen David Adom. We work with them. We work with Magen David Adom. It's mostly their ambulances. They train us, and they have like one head medic in the region. But everyone else is volunteers. These people don't get paid. These people have regular jobs.
Wow.
And this is what they do like on the side.
Oh, wow.
And there are all kinds of people, the mothers and fathers, religious, non-religious. We even have a couple of Arabs. And, they kind of, we do training with them, and sometimes they've helped us. We've had an Arab save a woman's life years ago, and he had to actually go under protection because his village was so angry.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
It's nuts.
So from Susia, which is south of Hebron in Judea, do you go to Samaria from time to time?
I go to the Shomron
Cornish
often.
Shomron? Yeah.
Sure, I go to the Shomron. My son is, both my sons learned at a yeshiva, music yeshiva in Ateret, which is near Nave Tzuf, which is north Benjamin. And
around Shiloh?
Yeah, on the way to Shiloh. And the Jordan Valley is also part of Yehuda and Shomron. Now my one son is learning there. He's in a mechina there. I go to Shomron. I look at projects there. We have donors who specifically want to do things there that had nothing to do with emergency equipment. We actually do some gardens, some playgrounds, some security rooms, things like that, because we just know we work in complete coordination with all the regional security. So if they have a need, they'll sometimes turn to us. And some of our donors don't really want to help with ambulances. They'd rather do something with security. So we try to help them. But sure, we go to the Shomron, but it's far. It's a 2-hour drive. Who has time for that, right?
Yeah, it's a 2-hour drive. If we were here in the States on nice, flat, open highways, it would be 45 minutes. It's not like that in Israel.
Look, every time you get in the car, as you know, you have to say, Tefillat HaDerech. You have to say Tefillat HaDerech and push that gas hard and drive fast. You have to. There is always terror on the roads. But we're not afraid. We're not afraid. Prayers are very, very powerful. I've been handing out cards, and I'll give each of you cards tonight. One side is tefillat, prayers for the IDF soldiers and the security forces, and the other side is the prayer for the hostages. And God needs to watch over them all and get us through this so that we will not have to say prayers like that anymore. And you asked me earlier, what would be my optimal? What do I want? I would love that we were not needed. Yeah. That would be the best. But we are.
Right.
All right, so just one more question. We interviewed someone from Israel last Tuesday, and she said that they're seeing a lot of coalescing, a lot of echad in Israel among Israelis, Jewish Israelis. How do you see that? How does that reflect to you?
Achdut, people together, amazing. It is awesome. People are coming together for everything. They're doing everything together. People are helping. The people are volunteering. Look, everybody has been affected. Everyone has either had someone murdered, wounded, or taken. Okay, and then there are all of our children and brothers and husbands are in the army or the armed or rescue workers or medics, and they have also been hurt. There is no one who is not affected here, and everyone is on the same team. Yeah. The farms have been abandoned. People are going to the farms. Senior citizens are going to farms. Work trips are going to farms. I went to the farm for my birthday and took my kids. Every week I go. People are delivering food and packing up food and stitching uniforms. We have 2 projects that we did to help that are positive, helping the effort. One is a laundry truck. We took a truck, we put 3 washing machines on it, a dryer, built 2 showers, and we take a barber and we go along the Gaza border, and the different soldiers come and do their laundry. And I'll maybe show a movie about that tonight. Another cool project we do is, I think I mentioned the horse farm earlier today. Well, that horse farm was closed. That entire kibbutz has been declared a closed military zone. The horses are there. Someone is watching the horses, but those children who are now holed up in hotels don't have their zoo therapy, and they need it now more than ever. So we took a truck, and we took like a cage of hamsters and a cage of rabbits and toys, and we bring a professional therapist with a dog, and they build a special room for her on that truck. Now we go from hotel to hotel during the week, and we attach stairs to that truck, and the children come out of the hotels with their parents and play with the animals, and one by one go to the therapy room. I actually volunteered on this truck for about 5 hours before I came to Florida. I will never do it again, but it is awesome, and these kids need it. And I remember seeing them, and at first glance they really do seem like normal kids, but they've seen things and experienced things that I wouldn't want anyone to experience. And one of them, I remember, climbed into the closet and closed the door to be by herself in the dark. And it was sad, I don't know. I don't even know what else to say. I didn't know what to do.
You'll have a wounded nation when this is done, and you'll have to recover.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to have you with us, even though the circumstances are not great.
Yeah.
We're having this meeting tonight, and we're hoping for a good representation from the community.
Well, I want to say Israel's united, mobilized, and the world is against us. But wow, to be invited here and to meet your community that's with us, a pro-Israel community, is extremely heartwarming. Very meaningful. Thank you.
Well, we're with you because the God of Israel is with you, and that's what really matters.
Yeah.
So if this program raises questions, and it surely raises questions, please feel free to share them with us. Email us at voice@buildupzion.org. That's voice@buildupzion.org. And until next week, shalom.